AdBlock. It blocks ads. That's what an ad blocker does. You install it, ads, gone. I'm going to be making the case for why I don't think you should be using AdBlock. I don't use AdBlock. Look, no AdBlock. Wow, thumbs up. Chat is really annoyed at me over this take, but I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway, okay? Number one, I think it's a really good thing that we have easily accessible and free media that we can consume and that we can look at, particularly new stuff, articles, reporting that you can just go on the internet, you can look up, and you can look at it and you can see it. And one of the ways by which companies are able to afford having that as a business model is through advertisements. Instead of paying with like a credit card, you pay with your eyeballs, right? You go there, sure, you get to read the things you're looking at, and you get to look at, there's some ads that pop up as well, and obviously the companies make money off of having ads displayed. If you have ad blocker, those ads are no longer there. Nobody's any longer going to be clicking on it, and the companies are going to be making as much money off their ads anymore. Thus, it eliminates one of the sources of income that that companies have from their media sources. And personally, in my opinion, I think that having advertisements is probably one of the better ways by which we can subsidize and by which we can pay for different types of media for it to be easily accessible. Now, there are other alternatives available as well, such as state subsidies for certain media, but I want to have as many different mechanisms of income as possible for media sources, because I think that having, media that is easily accessible and that is free is a really, really, really good thing. Now, as a contributing factor, ad blocking and the reduction of, the interactions with ads and people making less money of ads because more people are using ad blockers, that has no doubt contributed to the likelihood of people and firms engaging in other different business models in order to be able to obtain their revenues, such as things like paywalls. I don't think paywalls are a positive thing. I don't think paywalls are a good thing, because what they do is they lock out information or reporting, and it limits the spread of information, which I think largely is going to be positive, assuming that information is good, but that's kind of like a separate discussion to have here. And by cutting off other sources of revenue, such as through ads, you're effectively pushing people into more alternative ways of obtaining revenue, such as the utilization of paywalls. And I think this is a bad thing. Furthermore, I also want to say that, hey, if you are engaging and you are taking part and you're getting value from a piece of content, like you consciously, you make the decision to go on these articles and look at these publications and look at those authors and read what they have to say or watch a given video or whatever, the very least thing you can do to pay back for that free media that is accessible is watching a goddamn advertisement or having advertisements in the sidebar. That feels like a very, very basic low bar that you should have to do, as like a way to repay this person for providing you with free entertainment, free information, free news coverage, free whatever that might be. It feels extraordinarily basic, and I think that having an ad blocker and blocking that off I think it's pretty silly, and I also think it's pretty selfish when it comes to the aggregate impact that might have on the free accessible type of media that person or that entity may be providing to you, as well as you not paying back for a service that you are clearly taking part of because you're clearly extracting some form of value from it. Yeah, I don't think people should be using AdBlock. I don't think it's a beneficial thing. Now, if a website is like it is unreadable, it is cluttered with fucking advertisements, sure, flick it on, go, and so you can actually read the thing. But most cases, at least most reputable media sites, it is entirely possible to engage with them without having like 9 million advertisements and making the reading of the article actually in itself an impossibility. So yeah, you can still keep it around if there is some website that is completely like you cannot interact with it because it's just there's so many ads. Then turn it on, obviously, because at least that way you can get some value from them, and it's the creators of the website's fault because you can't even interact with it anyway. It's either you turn off AdBlocker and you read it, or you don't do anything. You just dip, and nothing ever comes from that, and they never get anything in exchange. I do think probably like one of the better models to move towards financing for media publications, I think it's twofold. I think that number one, I think a good subscription model would be a subscription model that focuses on getting rid of the advertisements. So if you don't want advertisements on your thing, cool, you know, do this, go get the premium service or whatever, no more ads. Maybe you get like an extra feature or something that isn't like necessary for your engagement with the media source. But yeah, you get some extra feature, you get like no ads, like the website itself doesn't give you any ads, and you're covering the lost costs of you not seeing ads by paying like a direct fee instead. Great stuff. Furthermore, you can also look into stuff like, for instance, subsidies for governments for certain types of media outlets, if that's something you want to look into, because obviously that reduces the strain on the media publication and what revenues that they need to meet in order to keep providing this type of media for free and for it to be easily accessible. All in all, two things, okay? I think it is fair, I think it is just to compensate people and allow them to make money in some way off of you literally enjoying something that they're providing out there for free, especially when that cost is something as simple as just looking at an advertisement or having some ads in the sidebar while you scroll through and read an article. And then number two, I think by using AdBlocker, you're cutting off a source of revenue from the publication, a source of revenue which I think is tolerable to have, and therefore pushing them towards other things like paid, you know, like paywalls to be able to access anything at all, which relegates the spread of information, which makes it difficult and expensive to look at multiple media publications and their articles, since they're all locked between a different paywall, and the cost can kind of mount up there, where people can't get good, pretty high quality reporting without having to pay a pretty big paywall, which obviously brings in an element of, you know, perhaps class discrimination into that equation as well. AdBlock is pretty cringe. Don't do AdBlock. Now, there is a discussion to be had about advertisements as a whole. I think it's a separate discussion. There are predatory practices that engage with advertisements, and I think those should be, you know, those should be looked into, and those should be banned, and they should be handled on like a more legislative stage when it comes to maybe reducing the prevalence of like predatory advertisements. But I don't think that has much to do necessarily with this discussion about like AdBlock and the types of revenue and the interaction it has on media as a whole and the gathering of revenue and the rest of that bit. Do the very, very basic thing and pay in some way for the services and the content that you use and that you interact with for free on the internet. Otherwise, we're probably going to be moving towards a society where you have more hard blocks, like for instance paywalls, or a place where, you know, you need to pay, you know, you need governments to allocate large parts of the budgets towards subsidies when that money could be allocated somewhere else, and instead that money could be made off of advertisements. Thanks for watching. Don't use AdBlock.